The signal was weak, barely more than a whisper across the stars. No one knew where it came from at first, only that it was slow, calm, and completely human. It reached the outer edge of the Zalari command fleet at 3:07, standard galactic time. The communication officer on duty frowned at the screen. She adjusted the filters and replayed the signal again and again. It said only one thing. "This is Earth we remember." That was it, nothing else. No coordinates, no demand, no voice, even just text, old Terran style, encoded in a waylast. Used during their final war almost 70 years ago. "Hi, Commander," she called, uneasy. "We just received a transmission, possibly from Sol." The High Commander of the Zalari Empire stood tall in his armor, his voice deep and full of pride. "Earth," said with a small laugh. "They still have power to speak?" Walked over and stared at the message, then dismissed it with a wave. "Ignore it. The humans are done." Burned out? They're still licking their wounds in their little dead system. But the communication officer did not ignore it. She forwarded it to the intelligence division, then saved a backup on her personal slate. Something about that message felt wrong, or maybe right. She didn't know. Across the stars, 3 other fleets received the same signal. Different times, different locations, but always the same message. "This is Earth. We remember." Dismissed it as a malfunction. Others saw it as an attempt to provoke fear. But there were those, the old ones, the historians, the archivists, who knew what it meant, because they remembered too. Years ago, Earth was loud. Humans fought like no other species. They didn't conquer for resources or pride. They fought to survive, always. When the Galactic Council accepted Earth, many empires warned, humans wait. They adapt. They lose, but they always come back. But that was a long time ago. The humans had been quiet for decades. After the Battle of 10 Suns, their fleets vanished. Their colonies went dark. No trade, no diplomacy, no war. The galaxy called it peace. But Earth never signed a surrender. On the planet Varex, deep inside the Zerani Empire, a small museum sat hidden under layers of dust and time. Inside it, an old Zerani scholar watched the signal blink on his ancient receiver. His name was Myril, and he had once studied human history. He read the message, read it again. Read it again. His claws trembled. "They're not sending a threat," he whispered. "They're sending a reminder." He turned to his apprentice. "Prepare the old records. We need to warn the Council. Earth is waking up." The Galactic Council met in haste, a great hall filled with leaders from over 100 species. A massive screen in the center replayed the message over and over. "This is Earth. We remember." Laughed. Others shouted. A few grew pale and quiet. The Valari Prime Minister stood. "We should send diplomats." The Rithri Admiral slammed the table. "We should strike first, wipe them out before they rebuild." The Lumerian Shadow Envoy spoke only one sentence. "You cannot kill what has already vanished." But none of them truly knew what Earth was doing. They only knew fear. Because the signal wasn't from a satellite, wasn't from a ship. It was from deep space. It came from nowhere. And that meant it came from everywhere 3 weeks later. A cargo ship from the Selthari Coalition docked at station 998K. The crew went about unloading goods until one of them found something strange. A small cube, glowing faintly, placed neatly. In the command deck, it wasn't there when they took off. There's no record of entry. There's no breach in the hull. Just there, they activated it. A projection lit up Earth's night sky. It's full of stars, slowly turning. Then a calm voice. "Patience is not weakness. We waited, we watched, we remember." The cube melted into vapor. Station 998K shut down 2 hours later. Every system failed. Not destroyed, just ... turned off. Every backup went black. No explosions. No loss of life. Just silence. Whispers spread across the galaxy. Earth tech has returned. No one saw them coming. They're all ready. Inside our systems, governments panicked. Empires argued. Military leaders demanded action, but no one could find Earth. Scouts sent to Sol found a quiet system. Earth's orbit was full of debris, satellites, old stations. The planet was calm, peaceful even, but their scanners didn't work near the surface. Signals went dark, ships lost power. Nothing could touch the planet, and anyone who entered Earth's atmosphere never returned. On a small planet near the galactic core, an alien child asked his teacher, "Why do people fear the humans?" The teacher thought for a moment. "Because they don't rage," she said softly. "They endure." 1 month after the first message, every major capital in the galaxy received a data packet, encrypted. Silent inside, a list of names, locations, dates. They were all the leaders who had ordered strikes against Earth. In the old wars, some were dead, but many were alive, and each one vanished within a week of receiving the file. No blood, no witnesses, just gone. No one saw the attackers. No one knew how it happened. They simply disappeared in secret meetings. Alien empires began to talk again about Earth. They never truly left. They were rebuilding. They're behind everything. But we can't fight ghosts. Galactic Council tried to send a message to Earth, a peace offering, no reply. They tried again, silence, and then another signal, no voice this time, just an image. It showed a single candle burning in the dark. Below it, words in simple Terran language. We waited, not because we were afraid, but because we were ready. In a deep asteroid field, near the edge of known space, a hidden human station lit up. Inside, a man stood before a group of officers. "Phase 1 is complete," he said. "The galaxy is noticed." "Yes," one officer replied. "They are afraid." The man smiled. "Good. Now we move quietly, as always." He turned to the screen behind him. It showed hundreds of dots, Earth agents, ships, satellites, already in place, waiting, watching, for decades. "Let them remember," he said. "Let them realize the age of Earth has not ended, it has just begun." Somewhere far beyond any star chart, a single Terran vessel drifted in the dark. Its name was Memory. It had no weapons, no shields, just one purpose: send the signal. It had waited 41 years, and now it whispered again, "This is Earth. We remember." The warning signs were clear. The galaxy just didn't want to believe them. 3 stations had already gone dark. 5 leaders had disappeared. Whole systems were reporting quiet malfunctions. Nothing major, nothing deadly. Just slow, strange. Failures. Lights flickered. Maps rewrote themselves. Files were altered. But no one died. Not yet. That's what made it. Worse, the humans weren't attacking. They were watching. And then they stopped watching. They started acting out in the rimward sectors. On a distant mining moon called Droskofor, the crew of 700 miners and engineers were finishing their last drill cycle. It was a boring job, but the pay was good and no one ever bothered them out there. The moon had no atmosphere, no wildlife, no military value, just rock and old metal. The crew chief, a grumpy alien named Bolter, walked through the tunnels, checking machinery. He yawned and muttered to himself. Then he saw it. A black cube, smooth, clean, sitting quietly on a control panel that hadn't been used in years. "Who put this here?" he growled. No one answered. The control room was empty. He called security. They checked cameras. Nothing. No footage of anyone placing it. Just a black cube. Appearing, one brave technician reached out and touched it. The cube opened. A light shone from inside, blew soft like a human glow stick. Then words appeared in the air, watched. Nothing else. No explosion. No sound. Just that one word. Bolter. Ordered it destroyed. But before anyone could move, the cube vanished. Not exploded. Not melted. Just gone that night. The power core of Drasco 4 overloaded. The safety system failed, and the mining colony collapsed into itself. Only 43. People made it off the moon. When rescue teams arrived, there was nothing left. No wreckage. No black box. Only a crater. No trace of the cube, only whispers of the word it left behind. By the third incident, the Zerani Empire held an emergency council. "This is not random," one senator said. "These are not accidents. They're warnings," another whispered. "One word at a time. The humans are spelling something." A military leader slammed his clawed hand on the table. "We must strike Earth before it's too late." Too late, the Prime Historian asked. "It's already too late. They're not planning to fight us, they already won. We just haven't noticed yet." In the deep cold of space, the Zellery flagship Havoc's crown drifted toward a relay hub in the old Terran corridor. The crew was alert, nervous. They'd been ordered to check for human signals in the region. No ships, no defense grid, no beacons. The place looked dead. Commander Rinnith scowled at the screens. "All this fear for nothing. Earth is broken. This is just superstition." But then the ship's AI froze. The lights dimmed, and a single line appeared on every screen. "You stopped listening now," we answer. Every gun turret on the Havoc's crown suddenly turned inward. The ship's systems activated their own weapons. The crew tried to override controls, but the buttons did nothing. The ship began counting down. 30 seconds, 2020A. Scream echoed through the bridge as the first plasma core exploded, but just before the ship ripped itself apart, the signal stopped. Everything turned back on. Turrets returned to normal. The AIREBOOTED. Nothing happened. No explosion, no death. Just fear. Rinnith collapsed into his chair. Sweat poured down his face. "They could have killed us," he whispered. The helmsman nodded slowly, but they didn't. "They wanted us to know," the navigator said. "They're not ghosts. They're gods, elsewhere in the galaxy." The young ambassador of the Larut Dominion, Sira Valen, sat alone in her quarters. She held an old human datapad, studying the ancient Terran text inside. War is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is simply waiting for the right moment to become a storm. That sentence had been written by a human philosopher over 2 centuries ago. Sira had once studied humans. She liked them. Strange, wild, emotional creatures. But they had one trait no one else understood: patience. It was easy to mistake it for weakness. But it was preparation. It was preparation. A week later, at a trade port orbiting Glacius Prime, dozens of alien merchants gathered for the weekly market. Colors, languages, smells. It was a beautiful chaos of life. But then, a small child, playing near the old gravity core, found a strange object. A cube, black dot, quiet, the same as the others. The child brought it to a merchant. The merchant showed it to the station commander. The commander, veteran of the human wars, turned pale. "Evacuate," he said. "Right now. Is it dangerous?" He looked at the cube, shaking. "No, that's the problem. They tried to destroy it. Nothing worked. It didn't explode. Instead, it slowly began releasing human data, old recordings, photos, war footage, and a single final line. You listened too late." By the time the last file played, the station lost 93% of its data systems. Bank records, gone. Navigation logs, gone. Security footage, erased. Lives were spared, but everyone left poor, lost, and afraid. The Galactic Council held another emergency. Session. Too many events. It's too many patterns. And still no human demands. No ambassador, no voice, just silence. And perfect precision. "They're not declaring war," the Valari minister said. "They're reminding us what they can do." The Zerani Grand Strategist stood up, breathing slowly. "This is not war. This is control." In a hidden lab under the ocean of Darnus IV, a secret weapon had been developed for years. It was called Breaker, a system designed to detect, track, and destroy Terran signals across space. They activated it, and it worked. For 10 seconds, then the lab's own computers turned against them. Breaker turned inward. Station flooded. By the time rescue arrived, every scientist was unconscious. asleep in their chairs. Each had the same words carved gently onto their screens. You don't stop the tide, you ride it. In the dark space, beyond charted systems, a small group of human strategists watched everything. They didn't smile, they didn't cheer. They only observed phase. Two had worked. Fear was spreading faster than ships. Earth had done nothing brutal. No wars, no fleets, just reminders. And still, empires trembled. One strategist turned to the others. They listened too late.
Out!
Do we go to phase 3? Not yet, the leader said. Let them wait a little longer. Let their fear finish. The work for us. Back on a distant moon, a group of alien workers found a cave, untouched for centuries. Inside, written in old Terran glyphs, was a message carved into stone. We speak quietly, but we do not forget. And we do not forgive. The whisper from Sol had become a voice, and the galaxy realized something far worse than war had come. Human. Memory, it didn't burn quickly. It didn't shout. It waited, and when it returned, did not ask permission. It simply reminded the stars who had once tried to break Earth, but Earth never truly broke. It started with a dusty file on the old human colony world of Dizzer's Reach. Abandoned after the last Terran war, a Zellery research team was digging through ruins. The planet had once hosted a major human base, but after their retreat, the entire place was left to rot. Most rooms were empty, silent, cold, but one building, buried under a collapsed hill, held something different, a single chamber. Untouched inside on a black steel table was a document. Thick paper, faded ink, old Terran languages printed, alongside dozens of alien scripts. None of the researchers knew what they were looking at until they scanned the title. Golden Treaty of Sol, Multi-Galactic Peace Accord. Final copy. One researcher, a Zellery named Traver, flipped through the pages slowly. His hands trembled. Every known galactic empire had signed this, even ones that no longer existed. Each page included laws, time-delayed clauses, and strange Terran logic systems that activated based on future behavior, but the last page held the part no one had ever seen before. A human clause, short, simple. If this treaty is forgotten, broken, or ignored, Earth reserves the right to remind you. Beneath it, one final warning, scrawled in red ink. Memory is stronger than fire. Trevor rushed the file back to the Zerani Grand Archive. By the time it was authenticated, it was already too late. Treaty violations had happened for decades. Earth had watched, recorded, waited, and now they were reminding across the stars. Ancient Earth relay systems came online. They weren't ships. They weren't weapons. They were contracts, legal systems, codes, old. Earth-built enforcement AI, once thought destroyed, now waking up. In the Valari finance system, planetary taxes stopped working. A clause in the treaty had protected human trade routes. Valari ships had violated that. Now, every financial transaction rerouted itself through ghost systems, all traced back to Earth. In the Zalari colonies, 3 terraforming stations went offline. A forgotten line in the treaty had forbidden use of Terran plant DNA without consent. Earth had let it happen for years. But now the station's machines turned against the colonists, not violently, just enough to ruin everything. A slow collapse. One by one, systems across the galaxy began shutting down. No bombs, no invasions, just forgotten words, remembered by Earth. In the Galactic Council, panic grew louder. "We signed this," shouted the Rithri Lord Judge. "Yes," replied the historian. "Of treaties. In fact, your species proposed half of these terms. But they're ancient. They don't matter anymore." Earth believes they do. The Lumerian diplomat who had studied Terran law spoke up. "We didn't break the treaty with weapons. We broke it with arrogance." The hall fell silent. On a Larian Empire freighter, the crew activated their long-distance jump drive. It failed. Every single time. No error. No fuel problem. The ship just refused to jump. A technician found an alert in the engine's AI core. It simply said, "Violation of treaty clause 42.1. 3. Jump drive reserved under Earth's post-war patent. Penalty enforced. They had laughed when humans asked for patent rights in a war treaty. Now no one was laughing. Meanwhile, on Earth things were quiet. Cities slept under clean skies. Forests had grown over old scars. Human children played without knowing that their ancestors had once nearly burned the stars down in a mountain facility under what was once the Himalayas. A council of humans sat watching. No uniforms. No medals. Just thinkers. They had prepared for this moment for 70 years. One of them, a woman named Clara, looked at the screen showing 142 systems flickering under Terran lockdown. They broke the treaty, she said softly. They forgot, replied her colleague. She smiled. Then we remind them. In the Zerani capital, a secret meeting was called, a proposal was drafted, a full galactic apology. But before they could send it, something strange happened. The Zerani Central Library shut down. Not attacked, not erased, just locked. A message blinked. On every terminal, you lost the words, so we hold them now. It was signed Lexicon, an old Earth AI, a legal machine. It had been watching every language, every law, every word the Council had broken. And now, it was enforcing them, in a corner of the galaxy where the stars burned blue. A forgotten station called Everpoint blinked online. No one had visited it in decades, but its systems were. Terran, a small crew was sent to investigate. They found a hall, filled with statues, one for each empire that had signed the treaty, and in the center, under a glass dome, was a slowly ticking clock. It reached 0 as the crew entered. A message played. The treaty was a promise, not a threat. You made it. We kept it. You broke it. We remember. Then the doors locked behind them. A minute later, the crew was released unharmed but shaken. Their ship had been marked, traced, coded, and now monitored. Earth had let them go, but it would not forget them again. The galaxy had forgotten the most dangerous kind of war, the one fought with memory. Not fleets, not fire, but with patience. With silence, with ink, not blood, in a quiet room aboard an Andari battleship. A retired captain sat reading the old treaty. He had once fought at Jupiter. He remembered the screams, chaos, the final human withdrawal. He had thought Earth was beaten, but now, reading this document, seeing what was happening across the stars, he laughed bitterly. We never beat them, he said to himself, just gave them time. He looked at the last page again. The clause was still there, still active, still alive. If this treaty is forgotten, is broken, or ignored, Earth reserves the right to remind you. And Earth was reminding, one world at a time. The screens went black dot, every system inside the Galactic Council's core chamber, communications, security feeds, navigation charts, just shut off. No warning, no explosions, just darkness. For 3 long seconds, there was nothing. No light. No sound. The most advanced chamber in the galaxy was silent, powerless. Then a message appeared on every wall, glowing white letters in ancient Terran text. You were warned. No signature. No voice. Just the silence of truth. The council guards raised their weapons. Officers shouted. Engineers tried to reboot systems. Nothing worked. The power had not been destroyed. It had been turned off from the inside. It wasn't just the chamber. Entire star systems began going dark. It started with small things. City. Lights flickering, satellites blinking offline, minor communication delays. Then entire planets lost orbit control. Terraforming stations. Failed traffic grids collapsed, not because of war, but because of forgotten code in the Valari capital. The main power core began overloading. Their best technicians couldn't stop it. They weren't being hacked. They were being reversed. The systems obeyed commands that no one remembered programming. Safety locks activated on their own. Entire cities went into shutdown protocols written decades ago, based on Terran energy blueprints. In a Rithari shipyard, the AI that controlled orbital defense systems simply said, Protocol Earth 47, now active. Defense grid surrendered. The workers screamed as every weapon turned toward the surface, but nothing fired. No damage was done. The systems just held aim, like a silent threat, waiting across the galaxy. 12 major empires declared emergency martial law. Some tried to fight back using backup systems, independent AI, old analog equipment, but it didn't matter. Earth didn't need control of everything. They had buried just enough influence decades ago to cripple the galaxy without ever firing a shot. Every collapsed system had something in common. They had once received Terran aid, blueprints, devices, software. It had all seemed like generosity at the time. Now it was memory, coming back with teeth. Aboard a massive orbital city near the galactic edge, a young girl stood on her balcony and pointed at the stars. "Look," she whispered. Her father followed her gaze in the sky above them. Hundreds of lights were blinking in a perfect pattern, a slow, rhythmic pulse. A countdown. The city's AI confirmed it, and it had no idea who had set the timer. Back on Earth, the control room was calm. Dozens of operators monitored the situation. Quiet voices passed. Updates, no shouting, no celebration, only focus. The woman in charge, Clara, stood at the center, hands behind her back. "How many have fallen?" she asked. 72 systems, an analyst replied. "Power loss, infrastructure down, defense AI locked. In response, fear, confusion, no retaliation yet. No one wants to risk waking more systems." Clara nodded. "They don't understand yet. Should we tell them?" "No," she said. "Let the silence speak first." In a hidden vault beneath the Zorani capital, a group of historians found something terrifying. Old Terran documents, forgotten by even their own government. Thousands of pages, each tied to different galactic systems. Every one was a plan, a blueprint, a map of where and how to shut down the galaxy. Peacefully, and every plan had already been followed perfectly. A Lumerian archivist stared at a glowing message on his desk. The treaty was not protection. It was a test. You failed. The lights above him dimmed. He stood up and looked around the archive. All the knowledge they had gathered, centuries of culture, science, diplomacy, was gone, replaced with a single human phrase: "Collapse does not need chaos. Only memory." The Valari Minister of Defense locked himself in his private war room. He activated emergency protocols, prepared orbital strikes, backup weapons, and neural override implants. But before he could press a single button, his console locked. A voice played, calm, female, human. "You always believed silence was surrender. You were wrong." The lights went out, and when they came back, the war room door had opened. His implants were off. The weapons refused to respond. Earth had not killed him. They had just shown him they could. The Galactic Council finally agreed. Earth had taken control. Not with guns, not with fleets. With time, with kindness. Years ago, disguised as technology, and now every act of Terran generosity had turned into a quiet knife. Hidden inside machines, inside law, inside trust. On a forgotten moon, a young technician tried to escape in a small cargo shuttle. He'd seen the power collapse, felt the fear creeping in. He didn't want to be part of it anymore. He reached space. For a few minutes, he thought he had escaped. Then his console lit up, a soft ping. A voice whispered through the radio. "You don't escape gravity. You fall back into it." The shuttle powered down, gently. No explosion, no pain, just a slow drift, till he floated back toward the moon. He never saw who sent the message, but he knew it was Earth. The collapse didn't come with war. It came with choice. Earth offered no threats, no ultimatums, just silence, and one unspoken question. "Now that you remember us, what will you do?" Some empires surrendered immediately. Others begged for peace. A few still whispered of war, but no one acted, because every time someone reached for a weapon, their lights went out, and a message appeared. Patience is not weakness. The ship was small, old, barely armed. It drifted near the edge of Sector 9K. Far outside controlled space, from a distance, it looked abandoned. The scanners of the Trinar Empire picked it up by accident. They scanned once, twice, confirmed it. Terran. Signature. They alerted the nearby warship Warchin's Pride, destroyer-class vessel with nearly 100 crew and enough firepower to glass a moon. Within 2 hours, the small human ship was surrounded. 3 Trinari cruisers pointed weapons at it. Troop transports stood ready to board. Fighters flew in circles, ready to strike. Inside the human vessel, only one person sat, a pilot alone, wearing a plain suit, staring calmly at the empty stars. The Trinari commander opened a channel. You are surrounded. Identify yourself. The human pilot looked up. He smiled. Are we? The Trinari commander leaned back. We've scanned your ship. No weapons, no backup. This is your final warning. The pilot shrugged. That's the thing about predators. They don't growl until they're close. And then the stars moved. The space around them rippled. At first, the Trinari thought it was a sensor glitch. Gravity fields twisted, coordinates scrambled. The navigators shouted. One by one, dark shapes began to appear, not warships, shadows, dozens, hundreds. Ships cloaked not by tech, but by silence, hiding behind gas clouds, frozen moons, abandoned comets. Ships shaped like broken asteroids, ships that had been there the whole time, waiting, watching, and every one of them was human. The Trinari fleet froze. No. One gave the order to fire. They just stopped, because for the first time in over 70 years, they saw it with their own eyes. The human war engine hadn't disappeared. It had waited. The human pilot leaned back in his chair. Earth learned something from the old wars, he said calmly, speaking to open space. Fury is loud, but patience. Patience is terrifying. The Trinari commander did not respond, because there was nothing to say. They could fire, they could die, or they could listen. Across the galaxy, Earth began to uncloak more hidden fleets, old ones, new ones. Silent ones, no big announcements, no shows of power, just presence in asteroid belts, in deep space storms, behind black hole event horizons. Humans had placed ships there decades ago. Most were unmanned. Some were automated. All were lethal, but none attacked. They just revealed themselves, enough to be seen, enough to be feared. In the Cathal system, a group of smugglers accidentally entered an old Terran listening post. It had been offline for years, or so they thought. The moment they entered, a voice spoke. Sector breach detected. Analyzing threat. Threat minimal. Recording departure. The smugglers panicked and fled, but they didn't realize something worse. Their ship had been tagged every jump they made after that Earth watched in the Galactic Council's emergency bunker. Silence ruled. Dozens of empires. Hundreds of systems, no answers. Just fear. They had tried to map Earth's fleet. It was impossible. The humans didn't organize their navy by region. They didn't build it around capital worlds. They built it like a trap. Webs in the dark. One alien. General finally shouted, "Why didn't we see them?" An old archivist replied, "Because you were looking for thunder, not teeth in the grass." Earth had changed its doctrine long ago. No more standing armies. No more flagships. Just patience. Silent. Deployments. Ships hidden inside civilian junkers. Missiles buried in fake mining colonies. AI defense grids sleeping inside weather stations. A whole second galaxy, wrapped around the real one, waiting. A Lumerian admiral looked at a blinking star map. He pointed at dozens of human beacons appearing across forgotten sectors. "But why show themselves now?" he whispered. The answer came from his assistant. "They don't want war. They want memory." In the ruins of an old battlefield near Mars, 3 alien archaeologists studied a broken Terran dreadnought. They found no power signatures, no signs of life, just a final log. Message in the ship's heart: "We won't be the first to strike, but we will be the last." Aboard the hidden station Solstice 1, Clara stood before a map of the galaxy. More systems were now dark, but others were waking up. Empires are beginning to kneel. No more pride, no more threats, only questions. Should we press further? Asked one of her commanders. No, she said. We do not want destruction. We want understanding. And if they still do not listen, she stared at the stars for a moment. Then we remind them again. Earth had always been a predator, but not the kind that chased, the kind that waited in the tall, grass-taught. Quiet still until the moment came. And now, that moment had arrived. The galaxy had woken up and realized Earth never went away. It simply became the thing every hunter fears. The one who waits. No alarms sounded. No warnings echoed across the stars, but every core world in the major empires woke up to an impossible sight. Earth's moon, it hung in the sky above them, huge, silver, quiet, impossible. The moon couldn't be there, and yet it was perfectly still, perfectly real. Every sensor confirmed it. Satellites scanned it. Command centers locked on it. But the numbers didn't make sense. It wasn't the moon itself. It was a projection. A symbol. And then came the second shock. Around it, ships, thousands, human vessels, uncloaking slowly. No sound, no weapons hot, no demands, just presence. And on every planetary screen, the same sentence appeared. This is Earth. We are still here. Panic spread. Some thought it was an illusion. Others believed it was invasion. Governments activated war. Protocols, defense systems came online. Fleets scrambled to orbit, but no one fired, because no one could find a target. The ships were too fast, too quiet, too close. Some had already been there. Some had come from nowhere. Every empire realized the same horrifying truth. Earth was already inside, in the Zalari High Command Tower. The Grand Admiral looked up at the burning sky. Human ships moved in perfect formation above the city. She whispered, "This is not war. This is judgment." On Glacius Prime, civilians ran through the streets. Looking up in awe and fear, one old man stood still. He had fought in the last human war. He raised his hand to the sky and said softly, "They came back." A child beside him asked, "Are they here to destroy us?" The man shook his head. "No, if they wanted to. They already would have." Across the galaxy, screens blinked. Human faces appeared. Not warriors, not soldiers. Teachers, scientists, children, elders. Each spoke the same message in different tongues. We were quiet, not broken. We were patient, not afraid. Offered peace. You chose silence. Now we return not for war, but for memory. Some empires sent desperate messages. We surrender. We apologize. We didn't know. But Earth did not reply. Instead, it sent only fire. Not fire to kill, not fire to destroy, but fire to remind. On barren worlds where human colonies were once wiped out, fire bloomed in perfect patterns, burning across deserts, oceans, and mountains. No damage to people, just messages written in flame, large enough to be seen from orbit. We remember. On worlds that had erased Terran history from their books, the fires rewrote it. Ancient battle maps, names of fallen, quotes from the last Terran diplomat, one by one. The galaxy saw what they had forgotten, and Earth made sure they would never forget. Again, in the heart of the Rithri Empire, the Emperor watched his throne room shake. Not from bombs, not from invasions, from systems turning on Earth-built systems, once hidden, now awakening. A soft chime echoed in the air. A human voice followed. You, ruled by forgetting. We rule by remembering. The room went dark. When the lights returned, every screen displayed a single, burning star, soul on Earth. Clara stood alone at the highest balcony of Solstice 1, watching the stars flicker. Her commanders gave updates. Behind her, 70% of galactic infrastructure offline. 83% of capital worlds now exposed. Total casualties, 0. She nodded. Double quotes, No war, she whispered. Just fire and memory. Earth didn't conquer. It reminded. It didn't scream. It whispered, and the galaxy listened. Finally, in the final hours of silence, the stars changed. Not because of supernova, not because of war, but because, for the first time in a century, every world in the galaxy turned its eyes to Earth. And Earth answered with stillness, with fire, with power not loud, but absolute. One last message spread across the galaxy. Not broadcast, not forced, just RELEASED, a simple human voice, old.com/steady. We asked for peace, gave you time. You answered with silence. Now you understand. Patience is not weakness. It is the final warning. And just like that, the fires faded. The ships turned. The moon vanished from the skies. Earth disappeared again. Not in retreat, but in victory. The galaxy would rebuild. It always did. But now, every treaty would be read, every file checked, every system monitored for Earth's quiet code. Because now, it remembered. And memory was the one thing Earth had always weaponized better than anyone.